Have you ever sat there staring at your phone, reading a message from your grown child, and something just didn't feel right? Not rude exactly, not loud or angry, but something in the words left you unsettled, like a door had quietly shut and somehow you weren't invited in anymore. If that sounds familiar, you're not alone. So many parents over 60 have shared stories with me, stories that start off soft and subtle but end in heartbreak. And the most dangerous part, the warning signs don't always come with shouting or slammed doors. Sometimes they come as gentle words that sound thoughtful, even kind, until you look closer and realize this isn't love, it's a leash. In today's conversation, we're going to talk about something that might stir up a lot of feelings, especially if you've been trying your best to keep the peace with your kids. We're going to walk through 7 little phrases that can quietly break your heart, one boundary at a time. And if your children have said them to you, and said them more than once, it may be time to do the hardest thing of all, step back. Now, before we begin, I want you to hear this from me. Being a parent does not mean being a doormat. Being a good mother or father doesn't mean sacrificing your dignity, your peace, or your sense of self. And it sure doesn't mean staying in emotional quicksand just because you share DNA. You raised them, you did your part, and now you deserve peace, you deserve respect, and you deserve to be spoken to like you matter, because you do. Let's start with one of the most misleading phrases an adult child can say to a parent. You might have heard this one in the middle of a conversation that felt vulnerable or honest. Maybe they looked down and said softly, "I just need space right now. I don't want to hurt you." Sounds considerate, right? But here's the truth. That sentence is often the start of an invisible pull away. It's a phrase that looks like kindness, but is often a setup for distance on their terms. "I don't want to hurt you" puts you in a trap, because the moment you say, "Okay, take your space," you've handed over control. Now you're waiting, hoping, walking on eggshells, wondering what you did wrong, and they don't have to take any responsibility. They've washed their hands of guilt by making it seem like they're protecting you, while really protecting themselves. And let's be honest, space isn't the issue. Space with love still feels like connection. But when someone uses space as a shield to hide behind, it's often not about healing, it's about avoiding. Avoiding accountability, avoiding closeness, avoiding the truth that maybe they don't want to do the work of a relationship but still want to look like the good child. Now, let's talk about another phrase that can cut like glass but feels like velvet when it's spoken. "You deserve better than me." Or its cousin, "I'm just not good enough." You might think they're being self-aware, even tender. But listen closely. This phrase puts you in the position of fixer. Suddenly, instead of asking, "Wait, why am I being treated this way?" you're busy comforting them, defending them, convincing them that they are good enough, even as they withdraw more and more. It flips the entire balance. You, the parent, find yourself acting like the child, begging for reassurance, begging for affection. But let me remind you of something powerful here. Parents don't need to chase. You are not required to prove that your love is worthy of being returned. And when someone keeps telling you they're not good enough, believe them. Because people who truly want to be better for you don't just admit their flaws. They show up with effort. Let's pause here for a moment, because I know this isn't easy to hear. Maybe your child is going through something. Maybe they've been hurt or lost or angry. And of course, life is complicated. But even when life is hard, respect is not optional. Emotional abuse isn't justified just because someone's having a bad year. And you, yes, even now, even after everything, you have the right to walk away from what wounds you, no matter who's holding the knife. Now, here's a third phrase that many parents ignore until it's too late. "I'm not looking for anything serious right now." But said in the context of your relationship, not romantic, of course, but emotional. What does this sound like from a grown child? It sounds like, "I don't have time for this," or "I can't deal with your emotions," or even, "I'm not here to take care of you." And while those words might come from a place of stress or overwhelm, what they reveal is this: you are being asked to silence your needs so that they don't have to feel discomfort. You're being asked to play the role of the parent forever, offering care, support, and patience, but you're not allowed to ask for any in return. It's not fair, and it's not love. Real relationships grow, they shift, they allow both people to evolve. But when a grown child sets rules that only benefit their comfort, and you're left sitting on your hands, afraid to call or text too often, something's broken. And let's be clear, stepping back doesn't always mean cutting ties forever. Sometimes it just means putting your peace above their approval. Sometimes it means choosing to stop explaining yourself, to stop begging for time or attention, to stop walking on a path they clearly don't want to walk with you right now. Your time is sacred, your energy is precious, and your years, no matter how many you have left, are not for emotional labor that leads nowhere. You've given enough. You were there when they were sick at 2 a.m. You showed up when they had school plays, heartbreaks, and broken bones. You didn't get a manual. You didn't do it perfectly, but you did it out of love, and love should go both ways. Maybe not every day, maybe not in grand gestures, but at the very least, in respect. So when the phrases come, don't just hear the words, feel the intention. Look at the pattern. Because that uneasy feeling in your chest isn't paranoia, it's wisdom. It's your soul trying to protect itself from more damage, and it's okay to listen to it. Let me say it again. Just because someone is your child doesn't mean you owe them unlimited access to your heart, especially when that access is used to tear you down or keep you small. We've talked about a few powerful phrases already, ones that disguise distance as kindness, self-pity as emotional manipulation, or emotional neglect as honesty. And if you've heard them, it's time to stop hoping things will magically get better. It's time to start choosing your own peace, even if that means loving them from far away. Because healing starts the moment you stop waiting for someone else to value you and start valuing yourself again. There's something strange that happens when someone keeps you in emotional limbo. You begin to shrink, not all at once, but slowly. You start talking less. You stop asking questions. You tell yourself, "I don't want to upset them," or "they're just busy," even though a part of you feels the ache, not because you need too much, but because you're receiving too little. Now, let's talk about one of the most dangerous phrases a grown child can use, and it often shows up when you finally find the courage to speak up about how you're being treated. You might say, "I don't like the way you spoke to me," or "It hurts when you ignore my calls for weeks." And instead of listening with empathy, they respond with something like, "You knew what this was." Those 5 words might not seem like much, but they're loaded. When someone says that to you, they are telling you to stop expecting anything more from them. It's like they're building a wall between your needs and their behavior, and then blaming you for standing on the wrong side of it. It's cold, it's calculated, and most of all, it's cruel. "You knew what this was" isn't just dismissive, it's gaslighting. It rewrites the story you've been living in. You thought there was connection, you thought there was understanding, care, or at least some kind of mutual respect. But suddenly, all that gets erased, and now you're left wondering if you imagined the whole thing. Was it real? Were they just pretending? Were you wrong to believe there was love under the surface? That confusion is not an accident. It's a tactic, one that keeps you doubting your own experience. And when you start to question your reality, it becomes that much harder to stand up for yourself. You become easier to control, easier to silence, easier to guilt. Now, here's the truth no one likes to say out loud. Your child is an adult, and adults are responsible for their communication. If they have a problem, they can name it. If something bothers them, they can say it. But when they hide behind phrases like, "You knew what this was," they're telling you they never intended to show up as an equal partner in your relationship. They just wanted permission to keep you at arm's length and to blame you if that ever became a problem. You don't deserve that. You deserve a relationship where your pain is not dismissed, where your voice is not turned against you, where your love isn't used as leverage. Let's move on to a phrase that breaks a different kind of heart, the kind that wants to stay close, the kind that values connection above all else. You might recognize it. It goes like this: "I don't want to ruin our friendship." Now, you might be thinking, friendship? This is my child. But in some families, especially as kids become adults, they start to shift the tone of the relationship. They don't want parental guidance anymore. They don't want to feel obligated. They just want friendship, something casual, optional, low maintenance. But here's the danger in that. When someone reduces your role from parent to friend, it gives them an easy way out. Because friendship, as wonderful as it can be, doesn't carry the same responsibility. Friends can cancel, friends can disappear, friends don't owe each other deep commitment. And while that might work between peers, it's devastating when it's used by a child to avoid emotional accountability. "I don't want to ruin our friendship" can sound sweet, like they care, but often it means this: "I want to keep you close enough to use you for comfort, but far enough that I don't have to deal with your needs, your boundaries, or your expectations." And just like that, you become stuck in a one-sided relationship where your role keeps getting smaller and smaller. You're the one who calls, you're the one who remembers birthdays, sends messages, tries to check in. But when you ask for something real, clarity, time together, support, they pull back. "Don't ruin the friendship," they say, as if you were the one causing trouble, not just asking to be treated with love. And this is where I need to pause and say something that might hit hard. If someone only wants you when you're quiet, helpful, and easy, they don't want a relationship. They want a utility. They want your presence, your attention, your comfort, but not your personhood. And that's not okay. Let's move into another phrase that's so common in today's world, it almost seems harmless, but it's not. "I don't believe in labels." Now, again, this might sound innocent, especially when said by a younger person who's trying to figure out their place in the world. But let's be honest, what does it really mean when your adult child says they don't believe in labels, especially when you're trying to define what your relationship actually is? It means they want the freedom to come and go, to love you when it's easy and disappear when it's not. It means they want your loyalty without offering the same in return. No labels is just another way of saying, "Don't hold me to anything." In romantic relationships, this shows up all the time. People who want the benefits of love without the work of commitment. But when it comes from your own child, it cuts even deeper, because you're not asking for anything complicated. You're not asking for a title. You're asking for presence, respect, consistency, the very basics of a healthy bond. When someone says they don't like labels, what they're often doing is dodging the responsibility that comes with being clear. Because clarity invites accountability, and accountability means they'd have to face your feelings, face their actions, face themselves. And maybe they're not ready for that, or maybe they've convinced themselves they don't have to be. But here's what you need to remember. You don't have to dim your needs to keep the peace. You don't have to act okay with vagueness and silence just to avoid an argument. You're allowed to ask, "What are we doing here?" You're allowed to expect more than scraps. And when you don't get an answer that honors your value, you're allowed to step back. Not to punish, not to guilt, but to protect your soul. Because by this point in life, you've learned something powerful. Your peace is precious, and it doesn't come from being everything to everyone. It comes from knowing when to stop chasing people who don't want to be caught. It's okay to mourn the version of the relationship you hoped for. It's okay to cry, to ache, to feel confused about how you got here. But once that wave passes, and it will pass, you'll find something sturdier waiting underneath. The strength of self-respect, the strength of choosing quiet over chaos, dignity over doubt, and peace over pain. So, if you've heard any of these phrases, if they've echoed through phone calls, messages, awkward family dinners, just know this: your instincts are not wrong. And you don't need to keep explaining, proving, or defending your right to be treated with care. You are not asking for too much. You are simply asking to be loved the way you deserve. By now, you may be seeing some things more clearly. Maybe a phrase stood out that you've heard too many times to count. Maybe you're realizing that what you once brushed off as normal, or just how they are, was actually disrespect in disguise. And if that stirs something in you, grief, anger, or maybe just a long exhale, you're exactly where you're supposed to be. You're waking up to your own value again. Let's talk about the final phrase, and this one is the most dangerous of all. It doesn't sound toxic. In fact, it often sounds like the highest compliment. It's when your child says to you, "You're not like other mums," or "You're different from the other parents I know." Now, at first, this might feel good. Who wouldn't want to feel unique? Who wouldn't want to believe they've earned a special place in their child's heart? But let's look closer. This phrase isn't just praise, it's a setup. Because when someone tells you that you're not like other women or not like other parents, what they're actually doing is handing you a script, a role. And the moment you accept it, they expect you to play by it, quietly, endlessly, and without complaint. What does that look like in real life? It looks like you swallowing your feelings so you don't come across as needy. It looks like tolerating silence, long gaps between visits or calls, inconsistent affection, because you're the cool mum, the understanding one, the one who never nags, never pressures, never needs. And in that performance, you disappear. This phrase is so dangerous because it flatters you into betraying yourself. It tricks you into thinking that boundaries are something other people need, not you. That speaking up is something other parents do, not you. That you're special because you don't ask for anything in return. But here's the truth. You are not more lovable when you ignore your needs. You are not stronger because you suffer in silence. You are not wiser because you accept less than what you deserve. You are simply exhausted, and deep down, you know it. Somewhere along the way, many of us were taught that being a good parent, especially a good mother, means putting everyone else first. That our worth comes from being endlessly giving, endlessly patient, endlessly available. But what happens when the giving is never returned? When the patience is never honored? When your availability is taken for granted? That's not love, that's imbalance. And you have the right to walk away from imbalance, even if it comes in a voice you once rocked to sleep. You don't need to become cold to protect yourself. You don't need to shut down your heart. You just need to stop negotiating with someone who keeps moving the goalposts. You need to stop explaining your pain to someone who refuses to listen. And you need to stop proving your love to someone who uses it against you. Let's be real. Some adult children are simply not capable right now of being in a healthy, mutual, emotionally respectful relationship with you. They might still be stuck in old pain. They might be wrapped up in blame or business or their own story. And that's their path to walk, not yours to fix. You are not responsible for their healing. You are not their therapist. You are not the punching bag for the wounds they never processed. And if you've been standing in that role, hoping that one more phone call or apology or holiday invitation will somehow break the cycle, you've done enough. Here's what I want you to remember. There are adult children who know how to love, who listen, who make room, who reach out just to say, "I love you," who make you feel like you matter, not because you're useful, but because you're you. But those relationships can only find you when you stop wasting your heart on people who don't show up. When you stop trying to be someone else's version of the perfect parent and start being the version of you that's rooted in peace, boundaries, and truth. And maybe, just maybe, when you step back from trying so hard, you'll finally feel what it's like to breathe again. You'll have space to focus on the friendships that lift you, not drain you. You'll have time to explore what you enjoy, not just what they need. You'll have freedom to rest, laugh, walk in the sunshine, call the people who care, not because you're giving anything, but because you're living again. Your joy matters. Your mental health matters. Your time matters. And it's never too late to choose yourself again. If something in this message rang true for you, I hope you know you're not alone and you're not crazy. You're just finally seeing what's been there all along. And that clarity, that's not pain, that's power. So go ahead. Leave the guilt behind. Walk away from the obligation that always leaves you empty. Stop begging for a connection that only works when you disappear inside it, and start walking towards something better. The life you deserve is waiting for you, and it starts the moment you stop trying to convince someone to care. Now, if this video touched something in you, I invite you to share your story in the comments. You're not the only one who's been through this, and your voice could be the very thing that helps someone else find peace. And if you found strength or comfort here today, please like the video. It helps others find this message when they need it most. Don't forget to subscribe my channel for more wisdom, strength and support for this stage of life, because your best years aren't behind you. They're right here, and they're still yours to claim. Here's to living with dignity, with boundaries, and with your full heart intact. Because after everything you've given, you deserve to come home to yourself.